any drops of excitement that I had left for Thor Love and Thunder have been completely diminished by this article here. And it was already bad enough after we received the trailer for Thor Love and Thunder. I pretty much lost all interest in this film after that trailer came out. But then Taika Waititi decided to talk more about the film and explain some of the very nonsensical things that they are doing with this film. And I am just sick and tired of it. I am done with it, and I am not looking forward at all to what they're going to be doing with this film. But let's go and get into this and see what Taika Waititi has to say in regards to Thor Love and Thunder. Thor Love and Thunder director Taika Waititi describes it as a midlife crisis film. Wanted to make least expected thing with this franchise. And that's one of the things that I'm just so sick and tired of, is that they continue to try to pretend that, Thor has been basically in this internal crisis, midlife crisis mode ever since the first Thor movie. Because in that first Thor movie, those were some of the things that he was dealing with was, his character, his personality, and, his morals, his standards, all of that type of stuff. Those were very important themes to that first film. And it seems to have just continued to trickle through, where now it's not really about his morals or his convictions or anything like that. It's just about, is Thor going to be a gardener, or is he going to be a king or a hippie or whatever else? And I'm just so sick and tired of it, because now it's about things that don't really matter in the long run. But let's go ahead and get into this and see what he says here. Speaking to Entertainment Weekly about the film, Waititi first detailed he didn't want to make a repeat of Thor Ragnarok, saying, "What I didn't want to do is just make Ragnarok again, because that's been done." He then explained, "I needed to do something more interesting for myself to keep the whole thing ignited and to make sure I'm feeling creatively stimulated. I thought, what's the least expected thing with this franchise?" So you thought that the least expected thing to do with this franchise is make Thor a hippie who meditates on rocks, and bring Natalie Portman in as female Thor. Okay. I'm not sure what that says, because if that's the most least expected thing that you could come up with, well, that's interesting. But from there, Waititi discussed the differences between Ragnarok and Love and Thunder, describing Ragnarok as a bit like a party. He added, "It was quite festive, and I did not like Ragnarok." I'm just going to say that, just throw that out there. I did not like that movie at all. In contrast, he details that Love and Thunder is still fun, and it's got moments of being over the top, but thematically, it's about something a bit deeper than the last film. It's not a serious film, and it's not a drama, but we do deal with ideas that I think a lot of humans deal with. Universal themes about love and loss and our place in the world," he continued. Waititi elaborated, "Everyone sort of asks this question in the film: what is your purpose? What is the reason that you're a hero? And what do you do when you have these powers?" He then proceeded to describe the film as a midlife crisis film, explaining, "That's the question we ask everyone. Are we doing the right thing? Are we doing all we can in the world?" And that's the interesting thing about asking that question, right? Is who determines what is the right thing? Because for a lot of people like Taika Waititi, the right thing is making sure that you obey the government in every way when it comes to wearing a mask and social distancing and getting the vax and all that type of stuff. Those are things that Waititi considers right things. The right to be able to, murder your child while it's in the womb, that's a right thing according to Waititi. So who is setting the standard for what are things that are right and wrong? That is a very important question that a lot of people are very uncomfortable answering, but it is a very important question. "I think right now, while the world is still healing from this pandemic, it's a good question to ask," the director asserts. "It's like, well, are we doing enough to look after each other and to look after ourselves? Get the vax, everyone." So anyway, let's see here. That this midlife crisis of asking what your purpose is and your reason for being a hero might be new ground for Waititi at the helm of Thor. But that was one of the primary themes of the first Thor film. Exactly. In that film, Thor's arrogance, brashness, and pride are his undoing as he seeks to provoke a war with Jotunheim in order for them to fear him. His actions, orchestrated in the background through Loki's deceptions, almost end up having him start an interplanetary war. So then, Odin banishes him to Earth and everything else. As Thor goes on his hero's journey, he learns about love, sacrifice, and duty. Actual important themes, not if I'm going to be a hippie or a king. It's these lessons that he learns while on Earth or Midgard that, and actually putting them into practice in his battle against the Destroyer, that he proves that he's once again worthy of wielding Mjolnir. In fact, at the end of the film, Odin recognizes the change in his son, telling him, "You will be a wise king." Well, that didn't really pan out very well, is it? Odin must be very disappointed in Thor at this point, because Thor has just completely thrown all responsibility out the window, which of course is one of the biggest encouragements of our culture today. They want men to not take on responsibility. They want men to shirk responsibility. They want men to continue to pass the buck when it comes to responsibility. This is something that our culture is actually trying to, feed into men. This is one of the biggest themes, and this film outright encourages it, and it has been ever since Endgame, where Thor basically hands off all the responsibilities of being a king so that he could be a knitting, hippie, fat guy. And that is exactly the message that our culture is trying to feed to men. Don't be a king. Don't take on responsibility. Don't be a leader. Don't be strong for your family, for your community, for whatever else. That is not what our culture wants you to be, because they want you to be weak. Instead of those things, they would love to have you be a knitting, hippie, fat guy. That is exactly what they want you to be. So it's very interesting that there's a lot of people that will look at this and be like, "Oh, well, those are just kind of innocent themes and stuff," but they really aren't. They really aren't, okay? They're encouraging men in the wrong direction, which of course is just, that's just Hollywood's entire that's just what they do, right? So anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. What do you think about this new information that's coming out about Love and Thunder? Does this make you more excited for the film or less excited? Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you all in another video very soon.